can you tell me your name and what you do at Zapier?
Yes, so my name is Lauren Fearn, and I am the Senior Manager of Core Support at Zapier.
Okay, and you are completely remote, partially remote, suddenly remote. What is the situation at Zapier?
Yeah, we are fully remote, all spread out. We're spread out about 27 countries, I think it is.
Oh, wow.
And big team, so we're at 300. I joined when I think I was employee number 115, two-ish years ago, and now we're over 300. So the last retreat was a big one.
Okay, I can see that. And you were all across the world.
Yeah, it's all spread out.
So it's not only fully distributed, it's also asynchronous because you have to contend with time zones.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
I suppose, like from experience, that the support team is especially time zoned because you probably have to cover 24/7.
Yeah, exactly. So the support team that I run is made up of, I think it's 47 people, a few managers, a few team leads, and then about 40 customer champions. And they are spread out completely, completely remotely, completely across all time zones, so that we've got 24/7, 365 support, basically.
And how do you manage to keep in touch with everyone?
Yes. So we are, what I would say, are real champions of asynchronous communication, basically. We use Slack as our virtual office, essentially. And we are really, really big on encouraging that kind of conversation throughout the day. So we have a support channel, which is for everybody in support. So at Zapier, our support teams are kind of split up into separate teams. So we have Premier Support, who service our highest paying plans, and then we have Core Support, which is actually splitting out into two different teams, one for trial users as like an onboarding team and one for our existing customers as well. But we have one centralized place where we all kind of hang out, talk, ask each other questions, dive in to help each other, share tickets, share news, say hello. So that channel is like our office, our water cooler and our presentation space, everything. So that's our kind of place where we hang out the most, basically. But we also have a lot of team meetings. So we have meetings every week, which are by region. So we have like a regional manager, and that manager will run team meetings for everybody within their region. And we have lots of separate channels for like team leads and managers and things like that. But for the most part, all of our communication takes place asynchronously, and we really champion people pushing themselves to work on their communication skills asynchronously, to make sure that we're really, really keeping that at the top of the list of priorities for growth and for learning at Zapier.
Because Slack is it's actually quite synchronous in nature, given that if you log on after like your 8-hour shift, the next person will have to read like 3 kilometers of text back. What else do you use to make sure that the things that are not in the moment actually persist over time?
Within Slack, so we have that channel that everything happens in, and then we use Zapier, obviously, as you can imagine, to kind of automate as much of our work as we possibly can. And we have specific channels which are just feeds. So we have a Bits channel, which is like stuff that you need to know. We have a questions channel where you can go through and look at all of the questions that have been asked while you've maybe been, asleep, basically. But the clips one is really, really important because you can go through and like look at any information that we need to know, like an app, there was an outage for an app or something else happened that you need to know about, or our volumes increased for this specific plan, all stuff like that. And then also we have a support newsletter that goes out every month into our kind of internal blog, which is called Async. And so say I posted something in Slack that was useful and interesting and we wanted all the team to know about it, you can kind of react with the newsletter icon, and then you get sent a little DM that's like, please fill out this type form to submit your thing into the support newsletter, basically. Which is really cool because I could post something and someone else would go, oh, that's awesome, like I'm going to react and then that it's useful to others so that you can kind of type something up and get it in that newsletter.
That's a beautiful solution. So basically the newsletter writes itself, or it's crowdsourced.
It's crowdsourced. It's completely crowdsourced. And we add kind of additional information in there if there's anything that needs to go into further detail. But yeah, so the support newsletters is kind of like a really effective way of us getting lots of different information to lots of different people. And it's really fun. Like, it's a really fun thing to read as well. It's like one of our kind of team motto is keep support weird. And part of that is to make sure that the newsletter is like fun and engaging and an interesting thing to read, rather than just bullet point updates, because there's a lot
also like if it's very boring, no one reads it. Like in the end, if you keep it engaging, then the likelihood of it being consumed is much higher. So, but it's not a newsletter, like it's not an email per se, it's published somewhere.
We have an internal blog that we call Async, and that's where we kind of share information. Basically, we don't really use email at all. As a company, everything is in Slack or everything is in Async. So if there's like a results log that we want to publish, we'll post it in Async, or there's a change log that we want people to know about, we'll post it in Async. And we also we do Friday updates every week where everybody posts a little bit about their week, what's been going on, what they've learned, what their priorities are. And all those things make us better writers and help to kind of keep us really connected as well, which is always beneficial.
So writing is actually like a crucial skill for anyone who wants to work with Zapier in any capacity, I suppose.
Totally, yeah. And it's not something that we have necessarily said you have to be good at this, because it is a skill that you can improve and you can hone.
Yeah.
But we do ask people take it seriously and invest in that. Invest in that skill, basically.
And how do you give that feedback to people?
So it really depends. If we see there's so many different ways of communicating, that if we see that maybe people aren't really doing a Friday update, we'll give them feedback about that. Or if we see that maybe they aren't really asking any questions in the support channel, then maybe we'll give them feedback about that. Because one of the things that we often say to people joining the team, and people who've been in the team for ages, is if you're not asking questions, you're not going to know, you're going to learn, basically. So if we see that people aren't kind of asking questions in Slack, then we'll sort of check in, is everything okay? How can we how can we support you better? That kind of thing. So that's if we're seeing not very much communication happen. If we're seeing communication happening that could be better received or could be more productive, we'll give feedback about that as well. Because one thing that is a difficult thing to learn when you're coming into a remote company, if you're somebody who is kind of direct or just to the point, that can be not necessarily misread, but potentially can be sort of like, oh, that person's a little bit direct. So what we say to folks, everybody in the company, is to always assume positive intent, because people could be moving quickly, or that's how they communicate, and we don't want it to be a case of like, oh, I think that person's not happy, or that kind of thing. So we always say assume positive intent, and that keeps the tone and the expectation around communication a really positive one.
Yeah, I have here on my computer, it says everybody's doing the best they can.
Yeah, exactly.
As like reminder that most of the time people are just stressed or busy or whatever, or culturally very different. Like an American will give you feedback in a very different way than an Estonian might be. So just having that difference top of mind sometimes can give you a lot of peace of mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have regular one-on-ones?
We have 30 minutes every week with everybody across the whole company. We use small improvements, and we use that to kind of take notes. We use it to set objectives, set goals. People can give each other feedback in there. And the way that we kind of frame those one-on-ones is that it's the person who is coming to use time. So it's your direct time. Like, how do they want to use that time?
Okay.
And so what we kind of ask is that folks come prepared. So they come with like a topic or a conversation or something that they want feedback on. And that can be quite new to people that are joining the company, because usually one-on-ones is like, well, tell me about your work. Like, where are you at with this thing? Whereas at Zapier, it's much more about like, what do you want to get out of this conversation?
Because I guess the work update, you already got that in a Friday update. So
exactly,
you don't need them to read it to you again.
Yeah, and also you should kind of know what your directs are doing as well. So if what we kind of have in our minds is, don't wait for a one-on-one to understand how your direct is doing or what they're up to, or whether they need your support. Like, you should already kind of know those things. So the way that we kind of try and talk about one-on-ones is they're 30 minutes. So it's 10 minutes for you, 10 minutes for me if there is anything, and then 10 minutes to talk about growth as well. So we try and make sure that we keep conversations about growth as consistent as possible. If that person wants to talk about it. Obviously, we're going through a slightly unusual time in the world at the moment. And for some people, talking about growth is just not the right thing.
Yeah.
So we let the team kind of decide how they want to discuss their growth. Some people only want to do it monthly. Some people want to do it every week. But it's important to us that we do kind of talk about it. What do you want to do? What's your next goal? What's a short-term goal that you have? What's a longer-term goal that you have? And how can we help you to get there, kind of thing. So one-on-ones, 30 minutes every week. And it's very much like a collaboration rather than your manager kind of checking in on you.
That's really, I like that the growth is like constantly present, because it shows that it's not only the employee who's doing something for the company, but the company is also invested in that the employee is getting something out of it, which I think is not every company sees it like that. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, exactly. And our people ops team, we've got a whole people ops team, we've got a whole learning and development team, and they have put so much time and energy into putting together like a framework for people's growth. So we have like documentation, we have information about job leveling, all of that. And it just makes it very, very clear to people, like what could be your next move at Zapier? What do those different job levels look like? And how can we help your growth, essentially? So it's kind of really revolutionized those conversations around growth.
Yeah, sometimes giving people guidelines is all they need. Yeah. Like give them a framework and they can like go really far within that.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah.
So you already said that like now during the current pandemic, growth has been gotten a little bit on a back burner, I suppose, and survival skills is maybe more of the topic at the moment. So how has this, even though everybody was already working from home, the pandemic has changed things with people suddenly having spouses or kids or boyfriends or whatever at home. How has this affected the Zapier workforce?
Yeah, so we already kind of say to folks, they already have a relatively flexible schedule within this specific team. So they work 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. However they want to kind of work their hours, but they have to work like it's like a normal 8-hour day essentially. But you could start at 7 and finish early, or maybe if you prefer a later day, you can work kind of later. So the main thing really that we wanted to communicate to this team was like really lean into that flexible schedule if you need to. So we have people who have young kids who are now at home, like you say, partners are around more, which you wouldn't think would maybe be so impactful to concentration, but take it from me, it is. So we just really wanted people to understand that we know that this is an extenuating circumstance. Please use your flexible schedule. Please communicate with your manager if you need to go and help a vulnerable person with their groceries or take something to somebody. If you need time out to go and do that, we are completely supportive for that. And just making sure that people understand that we really mean it when we say it as well. There's sometimes it may be a case of like we say this, but some companies may not necessarily feel like they can definitely provide that, but it's something that we know works. If you give people flexible scheduling, they will be more productive and feel more energized and feel more in control. So we've also made it very aware to people that we know that productivity is not going to be what it normally is, because there's a lot to deal with. There's a lot of anxieties around the situation that's kind of happening for everybody. And just being really open with one another, talking about it at all levels of the company. When I've had a bad day, I'm fine with talking about it, because I know that it helps other people to say, oh, I definitely wasn't as productive as I could have been today. Looking forward to the next day where I can kind of like put more into it, sort of thing. So just making sure folks were really supported, and that we are genuinely all in this together. And the thing that we've really seen come out of this is that it doesn't matter if you're remote, like the community that you build and the culture that you build will get you through these hard times if you really got the right people. And Zapier definitely does.
Yeah, and I think it also helps, like, for example, as you said, that that it's very disrupting to have somebody else, try to make a conference call while your partner has a conference call in the same room.
Yeah.
But seeing that on all levels, it's essentially the same problem.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're a support agent or the director of ops. Like if you have a toddler at home, you have a toddler at home. And what other tools do you use, and do you recommend to make like remote work easier on people?
some of the other tools that we use, so this is kind of related to retreats and also kind of related to working remotely, but we use an app called Divi, which is like virtual cards for like budgets and stuff. And that has been really, really amazing for helping to spend a bit of money on the team to like buy lunches or give Amazon gift cards and stuff while we're going through this kind of unusual phase. We have a celebration budget already, which the team do use to like celebrate stuff basically. But at this point, it's been we've said that budget is there to be used. Please use it.
Yeah.
You know, you can send people money and stuff like that, so you can kind of like order food for them, or you can order it for them and then get it sent to them, and those kind of things. So Divi has been really, really good for those kind of things. But yeah, I mean, everybody has their really own personal kind of workflows. That there's loads of apps on Zapier. We have about 2,000 apps that they can integrate together. So people really take advantage of that. In terms of when we are working in the queue, a couple of apps that we use, which are, I would say, integral to any support team, is Text Expander and Alfred. Text Expander is like my favorite thing ever. We also have a self-built kind of I would say global Text Expander. Text Expander does have a feature, I think, where you can share kind of edits and snippets. But we have built something called Clips, which is anyone can contribute to it from the company. And so if we have something that's changing, or we have like a marketing email going out that we want to add a reply to, all of that can be added into Clips, into one centralized database essentially, which we can all search. So it's kind of like Text Expander, but it's our own kind of version of it, and we can continuously push updates out to everybody. Whereas with Text Expander, if you have your own, it's harder to kind of push out updates. Or if you have like saved replies, they feel a bit more static. So I feel like that they don't get as much love as they probably should. And that was quite difficult for us to kind of get to the point where it was like being really successful. Like we actually tried to do something similar twice, and it didn't get the traction that it needed. But we just had we really put a lot of focus onto it. And when we rolled it out really, really well. We talked about it loads. We added loads of stuff to it straight away, so it was useful straight away, rather than it being kind of like, well, we're going to see how it goes kind of thing. So that was an interesting learning experience. Like, just because something doesn't work straight away, it doesn't mean that it's not right. It's just maybe not the right time.
Yeah, and the other way around too. Even though if it works, it might not, like, people might not adapt it.
Exactly. So that was the other thing. We did a whole bunch of feedback gathering to make sure that people actually wanted to use it and it was actually useful, rather than us rolling it out and then maybe the snippets that we added in there just not being useful, basically.
Yeah, the whole, how do you, because the big, with 20 people, like, you make an all hands and you explain why something is, and then you implement it and then you're done.
Yeah.
But at your size of the company, rolling out anything new is like a completely different process.
Yeah.
So I suppose you start with Slack, kind of discussing whether, and then you move it at some point to the blog as an idea. How do you develop these ideas of new workflows, new processes?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I think this is probably standard across a lot of companies, but when we roll anything new out, we talk about it 3 times. So we talk about it kind of in Slack, we talk about it in small team meetings. The Slack one is kind of a discussion point, so that doesn't count as our 3. But we talk about it in our small team meetings. We talk about it in our whole team meeting. We have 2 of those a month because of time zones. And then we publish the change in async as well. So if it's a big change, we make sure that by the time we're publishing it in async, which is our blog, everybody knows about it, and nothing is a surprise.
Okay, yeah.
But on the kind of idea development side, we'll just start a conversation in Slack. We have like a support operations channel where some of those ideas come from. And so we will kind of have a discussion about it there. Like, have we done this before? If we have, what was good, what was bad, what can we pick it back up, etc., etc. And then it will get kind of moved over to Jira, where we sort of have all of our support projects in there. And that's where it will get fleshed out a little bit more. And then the support operations team will help us kind of scope those things out, which is really, really great, because, sometimes you can get really stuck at that point. It's like, I have a great idea and now I don't know what to do. Somebody help me.
Yeah. Or I have a great idea, and now I could sink the next 3 months into researching and not taking a decision.
Yeah, exactly. So the support operations team are really great at helping us to weigh up like the quick and dirty and the going overboard and making it too over engineered, and finding that really good balance of like, this is what we could do in the short term that would be good and we can ship it, rather than it being like, something that maybe we'll work on for 6 months that to get all the research done, and then maybe we don't know what the outcome would be. So the way that we try to approach things is, if it's going to be useful quickly, then let's try and get something out quickly.
Yeah, even if it's just for testing purposes, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. Like, let's just get it out to people and see how people respond to it, basically.
How do you make sure that when a discussion starts in one time zone, that the other side of the world actually participates in that discussion, and then doesn't get online and be like, oh, apparently they took a decision already, I'm not going to chime in? Like, how do you help everybody be part of the conversation?
It is something that I have felt has been difficult. It is difficult because we're remote and we are completely spread out. So you have to be really, really intentional about it, basically. I work with a group of managers who are all spread out. Two of them are in Australia. So if I'm having a discussion, end of my day, beginning of US day, and they're kind of asleep, I won't, unless it's something that absolutely has to happen, I won't make any decisions on something that we're having a discussion about until after they've had time to weigh in. And I'll kind of purposely flag any discussion to them. And that's the kind of the same for everybody, regardless of time zone. Is what we try to say is, even if it's something that you feel like is wrapping up, or something that you feel like you agree with somebody, still weigh in and say, I agree with X, or yes, I'm happy with this. Because there's the kind of silence doesn't kind of mean agreement, sort of thing. So you need to really, as a manager, I think, help people to weigh in on those discussions and conversations, no matter their time zone, and give everybody time to participate, basically.
So essentially there's like 24-hour moratorium on anything.
Yeah.
So that it can go around the world.
Go through everybody, yeah. And if there's something that we really need to move fast on, then, obviously we will. But for the most part, we try to be good enough at our planning that we factor in that 24 hours so that everybody can have a conversation about it and feel like that they've been consulted and that they were able to give their thoughts.
Is there anything that I should have asked that I did not ask you?
Well, maybe I can talk a little bit about how we've been like pulling people, like getting people to kind of be together during this time. So that has been like a real sort of focal point for especially the team leads, but also the managers within support, of making sure that, just because, and it kind of comes back into that sort of silence agreement stuff, like, just because you're not hearing from people, it doesn't mean that they're sort of okay. What we've been trying to do is really encourage people to do things like remote co-working, where everybody jumps on a Zoom and you just carry on working, but you're together and you can chat and ask questions and things like that. Obviously the team lunches, people are doing like pub quizzes in the evening to kind of spend a bit of time together. We can't obviously have our retreats this year because of we can't travel. So, and I think that's just starting to sink in for everybody, because our support retreat was coming up, and I've spoken to a few people over the past couple of weeks where they're kind of like, oh, I'm really sad we're not going to get to see each other. So yeah, really encouraging people to do things like lightning talks and sharing something interesting that they learned. Not being afraid to just jump on calls and have a chat with somebody about a ticket, or about anything that's going on at Zapier, something they've learned, something they want to do. Just really fostering that like culture of talking to one another, rather than it just being everybody's in their houses, everybody's working,
and it's just work all the time.
Exactly. We don't have a real structure to it, but one of the things that we kind of talk about is really encouraging the more senior folks on the team to help to sort of pull people together. So we have like our customer champions, and then we have our senior customer champions who have maybe been at Zapier a bit longer and are a little bit more confident, because it's a very real thing, especially being remote, not wanting to stick your hand up or say let's have a Zoom. So asking the senior customer champions and team leads to work together on that, basically. But we have a little bit more structure around it in team meetings. Like quite a lot of the team meetings always start with like an icebreaker conversation. Questions like, if you could only eat one thing forever, what would it be? So that kind of really helps to bring the team together, which is really, really nice. But aside from that, we try and keep it relatively flexible and just let people sort of jump on calls when they need to and work together, rather than it being like, right, everyone jump on a call, we're going to do this. One of the teams I've seen does like I think it's 8:30 in the morning, does like a virtual coffee, like they just jump on a call before a bunch of them start work and just have a chat for 15 minutes basically, which is a really nice way to start the day, especially if you don't really have that many meetings scheduled.
Yeah, I think it's very easy for people to forget that work, when you say you go to work, you don't only go to work. Like you go to work and you go to lunch with your coworkers, and probably some of your coworkers are your friends, so you're having a chat with your friends about the yoga class you had yesterday with a new yoga teacher, whatever. Like it's not just work.
Yeah, for sure. Especially in times where, everybody's very, very busy. There's a lot going on. It can feel very heads down and people just want to get on with their work. So if we want to open up those avenues where people can be friends and talk to each other and keep support weird, basically, which is our priority as a team.
Okay, thank you. That was super interesting. I love talking to you because it's also a big company. Like my origin story is basically Automatic, which is now at like over 1,000. So Zapier is like super interesting because it's in this in between, not yet super huge, but definitely already a big company. So it's a very interesting perspective for me.